Hello. I'm going to talk about Pete Hegseth a little bit. There's a version of masculinity that's being pushed right now that's angry, cold, aggressive, and this gets called strength. And I'm a little tired of it because it's not. What it is cowardice. What real strength is, it's not about how hard you are, how strong you are, how aggressive you are. You know what it really is? It's about how much you can carry. How much you can carry without losing your ability to care and be responsible for others. You know, I've listened to what Pete Hegseth has to say about masculinity and strength, and if you just listen to it at the surface level, it sounds fine. Discipline, toughness, control, yeah, fine. But it misses the one thing that actually matters, and that's responsibility. A warrior is not defined by their aggression. That's just a killer. A warrior is defined by who depends on him, who needs him, who is counting on him, and whether he shows up for them with consistency, with discipline, with integrity. Because strength is not about domination, dominating others. It's about whether people trust you, whether you're trusted with other people's well-being, with their safety, with their lives. I was a Marine. I'm also a father of a child with special needs. I'll tell you this much. The hardest thing I've ever had to do had nothing to do with fighting battles, with killing people. You know what it is? What's the hardest thing I ever had to do is to show up every single day with patience, with care, with empathy, with kindness, even when I was tired, exhausted, frustrated, and scared. And I wanted to give up, but I didn't. I showed up. Because when someone depends on you like that, with all of their life, you don't get to check out. You don't get to say, I'm hard, I'm tough. You got to be there. You show up. You don't get drunk. You don't mess around. You show up. That's discipline. That's control over yourself, not control over others. That's control over yourself. And that's what really matters to be a warrior. And this fake masculinity gets this completely wrong. Empathy, kindness, compassion is not weakness. Empathy is not softness. They're requirements of being a warrior, of being strong, of being of being a man. If you're responsible for other people, how can you be responsible for other people if you can't even understand? If you can't understand what they're going through, if you don't care about them, how can you lead them? How can you protect them? How can you support them if you can't even show 1 ounce of empathy? This is not strength. This is cowardice. Real discipline, there's a physical element to real discipline. Your training, you're sticking to your routine. But the majority of what discipline is mental. It's emotional. It's the ability to stay steady, to be there when you're frustrated, when you're angry, when you're tired, to stay patient when you're exhausted, to stay grounded when it would be easier just to shut down. This is the kind of discipline that people depend on. They know that you will be there when they need you. That's discipline. That's not getting drunk. That's not being a drunk that no one can depend on. That's discipline. I want to be clear about this. As clear as I can. Fake masculinity is built completely on cowardice. It's the fear of being vulnerable. the fear of being weak, the fear of caring for people, of showing kindness or empathy or understanding, the fear of not being able to control other people. So because of this fear, instead of mastering themselves, figuring out what's going on with themselves, they shut down. They show this fake anger or whatever. They act hard, they act tough, they act like nothing affects them. That's just not strength. It's fear. It's weakness. And this is Pete Hegseth. He gets everything about masculinity completely wrong. If you strip empathy and kindness, compassion out of masculinity, you don't create warriors. You know what you create? You create weak men that can't be trusted with real responsibility. You create weak men that can't be trusted, that nobody will depend on, that people fear because they're out of control. If people can't rely on your character, your integrity, your honor, you're not worth anything as a warrior. Your toughness is nothing. You're just a bandit, a killer. The strongest men that I know aren't the ones that are tough or don't show any feelings. You know who they are? They're the ones that carry their responsibility quietly and with dignity. And they show up every single day with discipline for their friends, for their family, for their community. They show up with compassion, with responsibility, and with dignity. These are men. The real warrior ethos has nothing to do with intimidation. It's about being someone that people can rely on with their lives. With their lives. No matter what. It's about mastering yourself for others, so you don't fail when people need you. If you have strength, but no empathy, you're not a warrior. Not at all. And that's not strength. It's cowardice. You're unreliable. Like a drunk. No one's going to depend on you. No one's going to show up for you because you will show up for them. So yeah, be strong. Be strong the right way. Follow the right men, not this kind of stuff. Understand what actually matters in life, because strength is about being someone that everybody can trust. It's about someone who keeps their word and has integrity. And if you've ever known someone that has someone that depends on them, or if someone depends on you, or if you have someone that depends on you, you already know this. Whether you're a man or a woman, that's strength. Thank you. That's all I want to say about this. If you have any comments or remarks about what I said, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Thank you very much.